heart of spiritual practices are really about cultivating our own true nature, coming back to ourselves. But in the context of art, I also think it's about that true nature is also interconnected to all the things that are around us. Part of the power of collaborative practices or in community practices, that interconnectedness is literally exemplified in the things that people make together.
I think that I have decided to define a particular kind of space as spiritual only because I don't have any other way to describe it. Like, even though I just said the words I just said, it's like I didn't plan those out. They came. I think when I experience your work, coming into its presence is already demands of me. Again, not demand, you would never do that, but asks me to open up, to allow for some connections to occur that, to me, make it spiritual. If asked about when this spirit starts to show up in my own work, I would be hard-pressed to actually answer. But if I was going to try to name it, I would say a lot of this started to come into existence for me with the death of my mother, trying to understand the nature of the universe that would have taken her so early. I think that's when I began to insist that there was room for this. It's not about God, it's about creating space for people to find a connection that is deeply fulfilling for them.
What I also hear you saying, which I think is why art is aligned with spirituality so oftentimes, is that it's creation, making something from nothing. And so I think similarly, in our practices, like, we have a tradition of being around and in that space, which other people call ritual. That ceremony is the sanction of that awareness. It is the space where we can all agree that in this moment, we're going to align around that kind of listening, that kind of being. That's why I think it's kind of aligned to art and our work.
One of the things that we share is actually your spell altar as part of Wicked Bodies, for people to write spells, hang something, you're part of a whole. When people encounter that on their way to a performance where what they were expecting to do was to sit in a chair and watch, you're already asking more of them. Mm-hmm. And then it sets them up for a whole other way of being. And ideally, that's what's happening here in the galleries too. What I love in part about the spell altar is what I've come to love about spells, which is that I think of them as wishes, dreams, hopes, prayers, spells. In this case, the spell altar acknowledges that you are seeing me. You're seeing the effort. Yes, Liz, keep going. I mean, that's an extraordinary thing, and I think collaboration does that. There's something that happens in collaboration that is affirmation, boldness, giving courage, giving bravery, and sometimes just simple, I see you.
Well, and that's the other power of the spell altar, as you're alluded to, it's the mirror. And I think what we ask through collaboration is for you to embody that reality. We're building the conditions for people to reflect on their dream. Their spell is their invocation for really something beyond this moment that they aspire for themselves and the world. We're actually making something together as a product, and that actually I don't want you, pretend to sit back and think that somehow you're not a part of this relationship. You are. To the degree that you're engaged, it's to the degree that it's going to be reflective of your real being and spirit. And I think that's come out of my own collaborative practice, that even though I have a huge imagination, like there's no doubt I have a giant imagination, and still working with other people, they show me things I could never imagine. I
can't agree more. I mean, it's just so true. So what I'm taking is backstage is kind of a metaphor, like backstage back here. And it's been really interesting to build the materials for that room. So it has a lot of distressed stuff from my family and these old Jewish pictures. Then there's a room that's for video, and people can lie down and look up. And that's the kind of thing we're working through now.